It's a tough time for New York sports fans right now. The Jets and Giants are dumpster fires. The Knicks got blown out in their season opener, and the Yankees are down 3 games in the World Series. But amidst all that disappointment, there's one franchise in the Big Apple that's finding success and winning championships. Yep, I'm talking about the New York Liberty, one of the best stories in all of professional sports. In the last season alone, the Liberty averaged more home fans than any other WNBA team not featuring Caitlin Clark. They finished the regular season with the league's best record, and oh yeah, they just won their first ever WNBA Championship, bringing New York its first pro basketball title in 51 years and giving the city its first championship parade since 2009. And while it may not seem like it, the Liberty are really an underdog story and the perfect illustration of how magic can happen when investment meets timing. This is James Dolan. You might recognize James Dolan as the face pinned on the bullseye of every Knicks fan's dartboard. Or you might recognize him as the front man of the So Bad You Can't Look Away band, JD and the Straight Shot. But whatever the reason you dislike James Dolan, 6 years ago, he was the last remaining NBA owner to control one of the WNBA's original 8 teams. By all accounts, Dolan was done being in charge of the Liberty. They were averaging fewer fans than a JD and the Straight Shot concert, and he had lost more than $100 million since the franchise was founded, with seemingly no light at the end of the tunnel. So James Dolan did what any smart businessman would do. He put the team up for sale. In doing so, he also moved their home court from Madison Square Garden in the heart of New York City to Westchester County Center, an arena about 45 minutes north of the city with a seating capacity of about 3,000. A far cry, of course, from the 20,000 seats available at MSG. So why did Dolan do this? Well, in theory, it was to strengthen the team's balance sheet for a potential sale, as nightly operating costs at Westchester County Center were 20 times less than they were at Madison Square Garden. But, like most things that Dolan does, his plan backfired. The move to Westchester was a shocking visual for potential buyers as the Liberty went from playing in one of the world's most famous arenas to competing on the same floor that holds events like the Westchester Wedding and Bridal Expo or the Blood and Tattoo Convention. That's like going from eating Wagyu beef at a 5-star restaurant to a microwavable dinner. All in all, it was a disaster. The Liberty went from averaging nearly 10,000 fans per home game at MSG to less than 2,000 fans a game in Westchester, creating an even more unappealing visual by not being able to fill even the smallest arena in the league. It wasn't just bad for the fans, though. The players weren't happy with the amenities either. The locker room, for instance, at the new venue could only be entered after climbing 3 flights of stairs, and players often went home to clean up after practices because there weren't even enough showers. The Dolan effect is real, my friends, and that's the perfect example. When asked about the conditions, former Liberty guard Shavante Zealous told reporters, quote, "You want me to be honest? It was shit," end quote. And I'm sure that was the sugar-coated version. Truth is, the New York Liberty situation was so bad that the WNBA's league office even tried to help James Dolan facilitate a sale of the team. Several buyers entered into agreements with Dolan to purchase the team, only to back out later on after peeking behind the curtain and discovering how bad the financial situation actually was. That's where Joe and Clara Wu Tsai come into play. The billionaire founder of Alibaba and his wife had recently agreed to purchase the Brooklyn Nets of the NBA, spending more than $3 billion on the team and their home arena, the Barclays Center. It was a match made in heaven for multiple reasons. For one, unlike Dolan, they believed in the growth of women's sports, and just as important, they already owned the Brooklyn Nets and their arena, which could provide them with synergies across their portfolio of sports assets. So what does that mean exactly? Well, it meant WNBA games could help fill the Barclays Center on nights that would otherwise be empty. It also meant that the Brooklyn Nets sales reps could market higher price sponsorship packages by adding in the Liberty's existing inventory, and it definitely meant that ticket reps had access to thousands of existing Nets fans to immediately contact them to buy WNBA season tickets. So more than a year after the team was initially put up for sale, Joe and Clara Wu Tsai agreed to purchase the New York Liberty for a cool $15 million. The Tsais had to take on the Liberty's existing debt also, but they had plans to invest more in the team regardless, so it really didn't matter. But this is where things get interesting. The Tsais immediately rescued the team from Westchester and moved their home court to the Barclays Center. They renovated parts of the arena too to make it more WNBA friendly, such as dedicated women's locker rooms, and they even invested millions in the team's performance staff, hiring 8 full-time employees for the Liberty. It was all positive signs of things to come. In 2023, for example, Clara Wu Tsai and a group of Liberty employees flew from New York to Istanbul. They weren't there for vacation though, they were there for business, and that business was Breanna Stewart. Stewart was in Turkey playing in the offseason, and Tsai had hopes of convincing her to join the New York Liberty the following season. and it worked. Stewart agreed to join the Liberty, forming a super team that paired her with other free agent signings like Jonquel Jones and Courtney Vandersloot, as well as the team's budding superstar, former #1 draft pick Sabrina Ionescu. It was the perfect offseason, and it changed everything for the Liberty. Not only did the Liberty go from one of the league's worst teams under James Dolan to one of the best teams under the size, winning the 2024 WNBA Championship just last week, but their on-court success has fundamentally changed the team's business model. After the big championship win, Claire Wusai explained what can happen with proper ownership.
When we bought the team 4 years ago, they were playing in Westchester County Center to a crowd of 2,000. And the first thing we wanted to do was bring the team to Barclays Center so that they could have a bigger stage. And then we wanted to give them facilities and performance and nutrition and everything that they deserve because they are such elite professional athletes. And look what can happen when you have an intention and you put resources and care and attention to it.
Season ticket sales for the team have increased 200%, while also making them the first WNBA team to have a premium seating waitlist for courtside tickets. The team's merchandise sales are also up 150% on the year, with Fanatics saying the Liberty broke its WNBA Championship merchandise record less than 24 hours after this year's series ended. So what about attendance? Well, that had a pretty significant change as well. The Liberty finished second this season with an average of 12,730 fans per game, second only to Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever. They also set a franchise record at Barclays Center with over 18,000 fans in attendance to witness them win their first WNBA title. That's also not counting the additional 2.1 million fans watching at home. I'm not just trying to throw a bunch of numbers at you either. Sportico estimates that the New York Liberty produced a league-leading $18 million in revenue last season. So, while many people are quick to shout, the WNBA is losing money, the arrival of Caitlin Clark and a new $2.2 billion media rights deal could make this one of the best sports acquisitions in decades. That's because the Tsai family sold a minority stake in its parent company last year that valued the Liberty at $200 million. And many experts and their owner, Claire Wusai, thinks they'll get even more valuable in the next decade.
I think I'm on record for saying that in 10 years, I think the New York Liberty can be the first billion-dollar women's sports franchise.
All right, write it down. What gets you there? Like, what do you need to do to hit that goal?
Viewership. It's basically broadening our reach and accelerating fandom. And that's, in attendance, but it's also viewership.
The New York Liberty are a perfect example of investing strategically and effectively. And if last year is any indication, that statue on Ellis Island is going to be the second most famous Liberty in New York in no time.